Hey guys, how's it going? Today I want to speak about the subject of can we avoid fate? Well, first of all, you need to understand that there's some things that are just unavoidable, such as the fact that everybody's going to die. It's biological, it's part of what we are, that's how we are, and it's just going to happen. Eventually, everybody's going to have to die. If you're born, it's kind of like the contract that you're accepting. That can be part of fate. But let's look at it from a bigger perspective. There are some other things that can be changed, such as if you're in a very bad predicament or if you're uneducated. But let's start with like a predicament. For example, if you are in a bad situation and fate says that if you keep on going this way, eventually things will go completely bad and the inevitable will happen. Well, the thing is that, for example, if you're drinking too much, or if you are just having an unhealthy lifestyle, or you're hanging out with wrong people, well, you can change that fate. You can change the fact that you don't have to live that same kind of life. You can change the way that you are. If you're too obese, it doesn't mean that your fate is going to be coronary heart disease. It just means that maybe you should change your lifestyle and maybe things will change and they'll change for the better. But there's other things that, for example, fate-wise, if you are born in a country that's at war, or if you're born in a bad family, or if you're born just in the ghetto or whatever it is, just in a situation where it's kind of tough, then yeah, it gets a little bit harder to get out of that fate because, well, you need to fight for it. It's not impossible, but you definitely have to apprise and change a lot of things and be willing to make a lot of sacrifices in order to change that. But it's not linked in fate, because you got to understand, in our life, in the world, and just living, well, we are in the present. We have the past. We can remember the past. Things that happened in the past cannot be changed. But the future is kind of like saying about a predicament, about something that's going to happen in the future that hasn't happened. So the fate has not been told. So can it be avoided? Yes, a lot of the time. Now, of course, if you have biological things, if you're born with certain handicaps, or you're born with just handicaps and basically detriments, maybe could be mental conditions, could be whatever it is, you can still fight it. I mean, it's not because you cannot walk, for example, that you have to have a certain type of life. You can still work, you can still do a lot of things. You can pretty much do anything, really. So it's a set of mind. It's like a state of mind, I'll say, that if you decide at some point that this is your fate, that you cannot change anything about it, well, let the past, let the fact that you've been born a certain way, or let the fact that you've been born in a certain place, or whatever it is, dictate that for you. But that's not really fate. It's you giving up on something, or you're not willing to change your way of being. For example, I know someone who's a dietitian, and oftentimes there's people who are diabetic, and they are told, well, you need to change your eating habits. So basically they will be recommended to take on this or that type of diet. And what happens is that most of the people are just set in their way. They will say, I've been this way my whole life, so I do not care about changing my diet. I don't care. It's just the way it is. It's worked for me all this time, so that's it. Well, that's silly, because obviously if they have diabetes, or they're having some sort of condition with their body because of their eating habit, well, it is their fault and it's not working for them because they got sick out of it. But because people are addicted to sugar, to salt, to drinking, to all these things, you're set in your own ways. So fate is oftentimes dictated by what you want to decide that fate is. But sometimes it's also luck. You can be unlucky, be in a car crash and die instantly, crossing the street or whatever it is, stray bullets. There's so many things that could happen, but I think that a lot of the time you do have your own control. You just have to be willing to be open-minded, change things, work hard, sometimes really hard, and sometimes you got to do what you got to do in order to escape a bad country or whatever it is, if there's wars and all that stuff. But then, of course, death and some biological things are unavoidable. But even though that is the end game, that's still not your fate. That's just the end, and it doesn't even matter because you're not alive for that. So anyways, that's it. That's all I have to say on the subject. Have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.